Okay, here is another one. This one has a few more things that it's asking. First thing it wants us to do is to write the function in vertex form. From there, we need to identify the vertex and then solve it for x when y is equal to 30. So we're going to tackle this vertex form first. Well, anytime it says to write a function in vertex form, that means we need to complete the square. So I'm going to go and divide everything by 2, which is my step 1. And I would be left with x squared minus 9/2 x plus 5 is equal to y over 2. Second step says I move the constant and I add the boxes. So I would have x squared minus 9/2 x plus a box is equal to y over 2. Now when I go and I actually subtract this 5 off, I can't combine it with my y over 2, so I just write it as minus 5 and then plus the box. Step 3 says I need to find b over 2. Well, in this case, my b is negative 9 over 2, and I'm going to be dividing it by 2. So when we actually multiply by the reciprocal, we would end up with negative 9/4 for our b over 2. And then step 4, we need to square that. So negative 9/4 squared gives me 81 over 16. That's the value that's going to go in that box. So as of right now, my equation looks like x squared minus 9 over 2x plus 81 over 16 is equal to y over 2 minus 5 plus 81 over 16. And step 5, we get to factor the left side and simplify the right side. So on the left side from my equation, it's going to factor down into x plus, and I've got to go back to step 3 and find that b over 2. So I have negative 9/4. That quantity squared is going to be equal to y over 2. And then we need to go ahead and add the negative 5 and the 81 over 16ths. When you add those together, you end up getting 1/16. So we have y over 2 plus 1/16 here. Now, we're not done with it yet because it said to write this in vertex form. We are really close to vertex form because we have our quantity squared. What we need to do now, though, is get the y back by itself. So I'm going to subtract 1/16 from both sides. Okay, and I'm going to move over to the next column. So I have x plus negative 9/4, that quantity squared, minus 1/16 is equal to y over 2. Now to get rid of that 2, I need to multiply both sides by 2. And on the right side, my 2's will cancel down to a 1. And on the left side, I'm going to have 2 times x plus negative 9/4, that quantity squared, minus, and then I have to take the 2 times the 1/16. So I'm going to get minus 1/8 is equal to y. And here I have my vertex form. Next thing it says, identify the vertex. Well, if you recall, from vertex form, we can pull the numbers from the vertex right out of the equation. So I look at this first one right here, the 9/4, and remember that it's always the opposite of whatever is inside here. So since it's a negative 9/4, my vertex would be at positive 9/4. And then my y value is whatever is in the k position over here. So it would be negative 1/8. So the vertex comes directly off of the equation. And then the last part says to solve this for x when y is equal to 30. So now I can go back and plug my 30 in here for my y, and I can go through the algebra and solve it for x. The reason I can use algebra here is because x is only in one spot. So I'm going to add 1/8 to both sides. So I will end up with 30 and 1/8. I am going to divide by 2 on both sides. And I would be left with x plus negative 9/4. That quantity squared is equal to 15 and 1/16. Then I need to square root both sides. So my square and my square root will cancel each other out. On the left side I have x plus negative 9/4 is equal to, now on the right side we need to change that mixed number to an improper fraction. When we do that, we need to take our 15 times 6, or 15 times 16, sorry, and add 1 to it. We end up with 241/16. And since we applied the square root, it needs to be plus minus. I'm going to go ahead and simplify that down already to the square root of 241 and 4, because the square root of 16 is 4. Then, I still don't quite have x completely by itself. I need to add the 9/4 to both sides. So I'm going to have x is equal to 9/4 plus or minus the square root of 241 over 4. And that would be my answer for x when y is equal to 30. Now, a way you could check this would be to type our answer into the calculator and see what decimal you get, and then plug that decimal in for x and see if you come up with 30. Okay, here is the problem I want you to try to bring to class.